last video, try not to laugh goes wrong. Yeah, you know what happened. So we're gonna finish that video. Good thing it's 6:18 this time. For disturbing child missing cases. Okay. Chilling scare. Okay. We're gonna watch the rest of it. We're starting over. We're starting all over.
On the 2nd of October 1999, at around 11:30 in the morning, two men came across a very young boy while fishing at a campsite on the Big South Trail, which is a part of the Arapaho and Roosevelt National Forest in Colorado. And while running into a lone child in the middle of nowhere is cause for concern, the two fishermen saw a group of hikers about
setup.
80 to 90 feet ahead. They figured that the child was a part of that group since, after a brief conversation, the child ran off toward the group they saw. This child was 3-year-old Jared Adedero, and this was the last time anyone would ever see him again. To understand how a 3-year-old even ended up in that situation, we have to take a step back and examine the life of his father, Alan Adedero. Alan was a divorced, single father who was taking care of his two children, the 3-year-old son, Jared, and a 6-year-old daughter, Jocelyn. Earlier that year, Alan had become deeply involved with a local religious organization known as the Christian Singles Network Group. By October, he was hosting 11 members of this group, along with his two children, at a resort he co-owned with his brother. On the day of the incident, the kids wanted to go on a trip to see a fish hatchery with the group.
Okay.
Alan was a bit reluctant at first to let them go, but ultimately caved in when members of the group assured him that they'd only visit the hatchery and come right back with the kids.
They're gonna get angry.
However, for reasons that remain unclear, unbeknownst to Alan, the planned visit unexpectedly transformed into a 15-mile hike along the Big South Trail, commencing at around 10 a.m. Taking two young kids on a lengthy hike without their father's permission, this was mistake number one. The second, and arguably the worst mistake the group made, was that no one took explicit responsibility for the kids. Everyone just assumed that someone else was looking after Jared and Jocelyn, when in reality no one was. To make matters worse, the hikers had split into two groups, those walking faster and those lagging behind. This separation made it nearly impossible to keep track of the kids' whereabouts. About an hour and a half into the hike, Jared reportedly interacted with two fishermen before running off towards a group of hikers. Now, this is where things get a bit murky. From what I can gather, it's unclear whether he was somewhere between the two hiking groups or if he had already passed them entirely. The hikers seen by the fishermen might not have even been a part of the same group. Sadly, this was the point where Jared vanished. However, it wasn't until 12:15 p.m. that the Christian group realized that they hadn't seen him for over an hour. Panic set in, and some members of the group rushed back to the resort to inform Alan. He wasted no time, immediately driving frantically to the trail while beating his chest and saying, quote, "They lost my baby, they lost my baby." In the meantime, his resort manager filed a missing person report and got the rangers involved in the search. Since this was a fairly active hiking trail, the rangers in the area had plenty of experience finding missing people. So much so that the sheriff at the time stated, "Absolutely, I thought we would find him. Yes, it was a child, but my thought was we should be able to get in there with our people and do what we do and what we have done hundreds of times, find the person. It might take a few hours to find the child crying or hiding someplace nearby, but we would be done before midnight." He even instructed his subordinates to wake him up when they found Jared. But the news never came. After almost a full day of searching, Jared remained missing, and the hopes of finding him alive began to wane. Things went from bad to worse when the helicopter that was searching for Jared stalled 100 feet in the air and crashed, injuring all 5 of its passengers. By October 7th, over 200 professional searchers, a dozen dog teams, professional trackers, a dive team, and the plane were doing everything they could to locate Jared. Or at least find some clue that could answer his mysterious disappearance. Tragically, after 5 grueling days with no leads, the search for Jared came to a heartbreaking halt on the 8th of October. It became a massive story in the media and even led to the Colorado governor signing the
Okay, we got it.
Jared's
Really?
case, however,
Really? Like the echo or not?
that is until June 4, 2003, when two hikers named Gary Watts and Rob Osborne found some tattered clothes and a sneaker about 500 feet above Jared's last known location. The pair already knew about his disappearance, so they instantly made the connection and contacted the authorities. What followed was a more thorough search of the area, and 10 days later, searchers made a grim discovery: a molar and a part of a human skull. DNA tests confirmed what Jared's family feared.
Of course, just of course.
They also confirmed that the clothing belonged to him, the same clothes Jared wore on the day he disappeared. After nearly 4 years of his disappearance, Jared's family finally had some closure. But even with these new discoveries, the question remains, what really happened to Jared?
No.
The most straightforward explanation is that he wandered off in the mountains, got lost, and eventually succumbed to hypothermia. But there's a problem with that theory. The spot where his clothes and remains were found is nearly inaccessible. It's extremely steep and rocky terrain that would be challenging for an adult to navigate, let alone a 3-year-old child. The most plausible theory is that he was attacked by a cougar. These animals are native to the area, and while they rarely attack humans, a small child could easily become a target. During the investigation, some of the hikers in the 11th...
There's no way a cougar can... Hold on, I have some stuff. How much does a 3-year-old child weigh? Oh, I guess it could. I don't know.
The member group also reported hearing a distant scream during that time, including Jared's sister Jocelyn. So, if the cougar theory is true, it would explain both the scream and how Jared's remains got so far from his last known position. And while it is pretty convincing, there are some inconsistencies in the animal attack premise that I find difficult to justify. For starters, researchers did not find any blood or cougar remains like hair on Jared's clothes. How can that be possible? What's even more puzzling is that Jared's pants were inside out when they were found in the forest. I can't think of any logical way a cougar, or any animal for that matter, could turn a pair of pants inside out. Not to mention the fact that the pair of sneakers they found were in excellent condition, considering they would have gone through 4 winters in the Colorado mountains.
I'm still confused
All of this
why it
points to a
took
far more
4
disturbing
years.
theory, according to which Jared was actually abducted and later killed by another person. And the reason his sneakers were in such good shape was because the kidnapper likely scattered Jared's remains in the mountain years after the incident. I realize this is a horrifying thought, but it's really the only plausible explanation that accounts for all these strange details. Unfortunately, even with all the evidence we have, Jared's case remains as much of a mystery today as it was the day he disappeared. And the truth of what happened to him may never be known.
There's no way a cougar could have got him.
Paulette Guevara Farah.
Paulette Guevara.
On the 21st of March 2010, the Guevara family returned from a trip. On the 21st of March 2010, the Guevara family returned from a trip to their home in Mexico. That evening, the parents tucked their 2 daughters into bed, unaware it would be the last time they'd see one of them alive. The following morning, the family's nanny, Erica, entered 4-year-old Paulette Guevara Farah's room to wake her, only to find the bed empty. She could not find the 4-year-old girl anywhere in her room. She turned everything upside down while searching for Paulette before finally alerting the mother of the kids, Lizette Farah. Lizette quickly informed the authorities, and they started investigating the little girl's disappearance almost immediately. However, this case was unlike anything they had seen before. Paulette had severe physical disabilities, so she couldn't have gone anywhere on her own. But the investigators didn't find any evidence of someone breaking into the house and kidnapping her either. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. So, after exhausting all of her options, the Attorney General's office quickly put together a poster explaining Paulette's situation and plastered it everywhere in the region. Lizette's sister, Arlette, also posted a few pictures on social media. Surprisingly, these social media posts went super viral, turning the disappearance of Paulette into a national headline. In the evening, Lizette even released a message on television to the potential abductors, asking them to return her daughter. She claimed that they could leave Paulette in a shop.
Hold on, guys. Why is she blinking?
Led into a national headline. In the
Got
evening,
this.
Lizette even released a message on television to the potential abductors, asking them to return her daughter. She claimed that they could leave Paulette in a shopping center or some other crowded place, and the family would not.
She was blinking really hard.
Sadly, none of these efforts
Also, why would you? You know, who cares?
amounted to anything. That is until 9 days later, on March 31st, when the little girl's lifeless body was discovered back where it all began.
I have to become Kylo Ren for this. Hold on. Hello guys, I'm Kylo Ren. Jaden has to do something. And since I'm like a Sith, I can do this video without crying or something. I don't know.
In her own room. It was stuck between the mattress and the
That's
footnotes
rewind.
until 9 days later, on March 31st, when the little girl's lifeless body was discovered back where it all began, her own room. It was stuck between...
Did my grandfather, Anakin Skywalker? Terrible joke. No. I wasn't joking like that. I'm sorry.
between the mattress and the foot of the bed.
Hallelujah.
On the surface, this should have been the end of Paulette's case. However, the inconsistencies surrounding her disappearance were too significant to ignore. For starters, how is it possible that no one noticed the little girl's body just feet from where she was supposed to be asleep?
Yeah.
The Guevara house was investigated by professionals who also used highly trained dogs. How could they miss something so obvious in their search? Most in Importantly, how did no one who visited her room notice the smell? As a comment on YouTube mentions, I found the body once. It was in a basement apartment, and we went to do a checkup on her due to a smell complaint. Flies were everywhere, and they were huge. The smell was thick, and it stuck to everything. It was a hot and humid summer. She had been dead for 3 days. There is no way that Paulette was in that room for 9 days and no one noticed. The smell of death literally gets everywhere. Now, if the room was immediately taped off after Paulette's disappearance, all of this could have been potentially explained as nothing more than
you kidding me? It's Disney's fault. And you guys watched Star Wars The Force Awakens? Well, good thing, because today's ad is actually Star Wars. I'm kidding. I wish I got it out of Star Wars. That would be wahoo. Be great. Take a deep breath. Shut up.
Upon closer inspection, the couple found out that Sabrina's disappearance was partially their own fault. They had forgotten to close the garage door the night before. As the police got involved, they started a manhunt for the supposed kidnapper, which ended up being the largest manhunt in Florida history at the time. The investigation of Sabrina's room revealed a mysterious footprint and some unidentified fingerprints near her crib. Now, this should have been the proof that someone had already kidnapped little Sabrina. However, cops were struggling to find any other lead or evidence that could lead them to the perpetrator. So, instead of continuing their search outward, they shifted their focus inward, turning their attention to Steve and Marlene.
The idea that someone
Give me a picture of the cops. Okay, guys, you see those cops? Force choke. Yeah, this is also my setup. Nice setup. This is Jaden's setup. But like I said in the intro, I'm going to have like I'm going to move my setup into another room. It's going to be great. So let's continue.
Turning their
to a suburban home in the middle of the night, plucked a 5-month-old child out of her crib, obviously raised a lot of suspicion around the Eisenbergs.
It's unusual for a true kidnapping. A lot of times they find out that it's someone the family knew or had knowledge of, and that's part of the leads we're looking at.
Sabrina's parents were now lead suspects in the case of their own missing daughter. They were summoned for extensive interviews on multiple occasions and were also instructed to take polygraph tests. And while Steve passed his tests, the results from Marlene's tests came out inconclusive due to the stress she was under. It seemed like the higher-ups had already made up their mind about Steve and Marlene being the perpetrators, and were just trying to find any evidence.
Sorry, is this a good mic? Once I get batteries in this is, I'm gonna use this in most of my videos. So, okay.
That could support this conclusion. At one point, they even instructed Marlene to appear cold and uncaring on TV, and then use that to question the legitimacy of her feelings for her daughter.
Please bring our baby back to us. She needs her mother and her father. We all miss her and love her very much, and we need her to come home to us, please.
It backfired because the perception was that they were cold.
Marlene was seen by some as being not authentic, unemotional. Law enforcement seemed to focus in on that display.
It took all the strength that I
Yes,
had
it's me.
to say what I said, and then the minute I was done, I broke down in tears. Okay, hysterical. But of course the cameras were not put on me then.
It got to the point where Steve and Marlene were no longer interested in talking to the police and hired an attorney to act as a shield. However, this only made things worse for the Eisenbergs, because on December 12th, 1997, law enforcement successfully received the court's permission to install hidden listening devices in their home. These devices remained active for almost 3 months and captured over 2,600 conversations between the couple. Police then used these recordings to build a case against Steve and Marlene, claiming that they had found evidence of the couple admitting to Sabrina's murder.
What did they say?
These
Huh?
alleged
Murder. I
transcripts
think she was
included
kidnapped.
statements like, on December 23rd, 1997, Marlene said to Steve, "The baby's dead and buried. It was found dead because you did it. The baby's dead. No matter what you say, you just did it." To which Steve responded by saying, "Honey, there was nothing I could do about it. We need to discuss the way that we can beat the charge. I will never break from the family pact and our story, even if the police were to hold me down. We will do what we have to do." On January 21, 1998, Steve said, "I wish I hadn't harmed her. It was the cocaine." And 10 more counts of similar incriminating statements. They also used these as evidence to break into the Eisenbergs' home and arrest the couple. However, when the cops presented this evidence in court, the judge was unable to make out the phrases that were claimed to have been said. The entire case was dismissed, and Steve and Marlene even won a counter lawsuit, which made the government pay their attorney fees for the bogus lawsuit. And from my research, I'm fairly confident that Steve and Marlene were likely not the reason behind their daughter's disappearance. One of their old neighbors also came to their defense in a YouTube comment which read, "I lived about a half mile from the Eisenbergs at the time of this tragedy. We also had a 6-month-old baby boy at the time. I never so quickly moved my son's crib into our master bedroom for a month or so after that happening. Personally, after hearing so very much about the case, and I actually knew someone who knew the mom, these folks could not have done it. They were genuinely wonderful."
I knew someone that knew the mom. You know,
Parents and a decent, normal family. My heart goes out to these people to this day. Our son is 25 now. Sabrina would be 25 years old this June. So sad. Sadly, while the police focused on blaming Steve and Marlene, the real perpetrator continued to slip further from their grasp. Now it's been over 27 years since Sabrina disappeared. It's unclear if she's even alive or if she met an untimely death. The Eisenberg couple, however, has not given up hope.
Good they didn't. Okay, we're gonna rate that video. The scary it is. About like, yeah, it was disturbing, like 6. The sadness, 9. At the end, I was about to like tear up. But the narration is a 10. So 6, 10, and 9. $25. Yeah. Wait, oh. Hey, look, my video.
Welcome back to Among Us. Today, welcome back. Found the 25.
Look, try not to laugh goes wrong. That's so surprising, right?
Or this, or how about this? Speed.
I'm gonna react to some Darman later. So, see ya. If there's any videos right here, please click on them. I don't know how to do it. I need to get an editor, so. See ya. Make sure to like and subscribe.